Hello, my name is Rosanamod, and welcome to the rosanamod podcast. Want to modify your life? That is corny, but I'm going to keep it in there. This variety show brainstorms solutions for everyday challenges, unlocks your secret potential, think outside the box with creative ideas that improve your business and your life. Get inspired with special guests, get motivated with how-to projects for the whole family, and learn that life is too short for anything less than being happy. Laugh with me or at me, it doesn't matter. Somebody's going to laugh. Hey everybody, this is Rosanamod, and welcome to the rosanamod Variety Pod, which is getting a little hard to say, actually. Episode 47. Today is, like I promised, it's going to be about vintage jewelry. I want to be a little succinct on the history. I don't really know that much about the history as much as somebody on like the Antique Roadshow. Like I wouldn't be able to do that, but I do have an idea of where it started. I know that it started in southern Mesopotamia, which is Iraq. I also know that the Egyptians had a lot of jewelry and they started there. I also know that during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, there was a lot of fashion that meant ears would be hidden with hair. So earrings were not as popular back in the day because of that fashion. So people would wear jewelry on their hair, in their hair nets, around their faces and their temples, in their, by their ears, but not on their ears. Also, Italy was the one that started the pearl drop earring, and France did, I believe enamel, and then Spain did filigree. It traveled to England, and then it made its way over to the West. And when we got it here in America, the 1900s were the beginning of, and I'm just going to focus on earrings right now because I'm not familiar with the other parts of jewelry. As far as what I buy personally, I focus on earrings. I do buy vintage bracelets and necklaces, yes, but my forte would be in the earring industry. Now, the earrings, like in the 1900s, the very first type of earrings that were made were the screwbacks. And the screwbacks is exactly what it says. It's a screw that you turn and tightens around the earlobe. And then you have butterfly clasp, which was like 1920s or 30s, which is like a hook, but it has a little back, holds that little hook in place so that it doesn't come off. And then you have the around 1930s to 50s or mid-century would be the clip-ons, the clips. And then you have the hooks, the regular hook earrings and the posts, okay? So when you have a basic idea of that, you kind of get an idea of where they're from. So if you see a screwback earring, like in an estate sale or something, and had a little screw, you already know it's old as hell because it's 1900s. If you see earrings that are clip-ons, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're vintage because they do have clip-ons right now. But the one thing that I've noticed about the vintage jewelry in general is their intricacy and the attention to detail in jewelry. I think back in the day was a lot more precise. So when you look at a piece and you look at earrings or necklace or whatever, it's easy to see when somebody put a lot of attention into the detail as compared to coming right off of an assembly line, or mass production from, like China, for example. Like if you see jewelry on eBay and you put in like earrings or something, you're going to notice the difference. You're going to see just by looking at it that it's not vintage. Another way to tell is not just from the quality, but also the weight of the piece. It's heavier. The stones were heavier. The metal was heavier. They put more money and more focus into the pieces. And then you have the designers, the marks and the markings and the signatures. Like, for example, Coro and Sarah Coventry, Trifari, Monet. Those are just very common jewelry makers. Now, I can tell a Sarah Coventry piece just by looking at it. I don't have to really look at the signature because I'm so used to the style. I'm used to the style of Trifari. They usually have leaves and things like that. And then you have coral, which is a little bit bulkier. My advice to you is to go online and look up the designers from the 1900s to the to 2000, and just look at their earrings, their bracelets, their jewelry, and get an idea of what you're looking at. And also, very importantly, find a website, and there's so many websites out there. I'm not going to give you the website. Just go look of the sites that have the markings and the signatures and what they look like, because not everybody is going to do them the same way. Some, like for example, Avon just says Avon, sometimes Sarah Coventry is SC. Sometimes, Trifari will always have Trifari. Monet will always have Monet, but you'll be able to know the signature. And then the last thing that you need to remember is the loop, which is the magnifying glass. There's different types of loops. Now, the 10x is 10 times the magnification, and that is perfectly fine for looking at costume jewelry. If you're trying to look at gemstones like an actual jeweler would look at a diamond, then you would probably need something a little bit more expensive, which is called triplet, which means there's 3 lenses instead of just 1 or 2. The triplets is a lot more detailed to look at facets on a gemstone and to look deep into a diamond. You don't need that. You're just looking at costume jewelry and looking at the actual signature. You might not even need a loop. They're pretty cheap, I'll just have to say. I think mine cost like $10. It wasn't that much. They have different kinds. I have the one who has a little light on it so that I turn it on and it lights it up. It helps. But you might not even need that. If your eyes are pretty good, you could just take a copy of it, a picture of it with your phone, and then enlarge it. Like I told you before, to use your cell phone. Take a picture of it and enlarge it, okay? And if you have a camera and you don't have a phone, if it has a macro would actually help to see the finer details. And if you're trying to sell it, that's another thing. Get a camera. It has a macro lens. If you don't have a macro lens, I believe you can buy a macro lens to add to your camera. Macro is for smaller pieces and to take pictures of smaller pieces so that you can list them online. Now, I list my jewelry on eBay. If you're curious, go to eBay and look me up, rosanamod. If you want to sell them on eBay, which I would recommend, they do have other sites. You can look at other sites that sells antique or vintage jewelry. You can compare how much you pay, but I know that every first of the month on eBay, you can list up to 200 items for free. They take a cut after you sell them. So it's worth it. You have a choice of either selling it as a buy it now feature, which means you just put a fixed price on it, or you can put it an auction, and that lasts up to 10 days or 7 days, depending on how long you want to leave it there. If you leave it on the buy it now, it's 30 days. So for 30 days, it'll sit there unless you want to renew it or you don't renew it. But for 30 days, it'll sit. And I think that that's perfect. And every month it's a free listing, so you can't lose with eBay. I prefer eBay. Plus, I have a longer history with them, and I've never had any problems. And I've got a pretty good reputation there. So I go with them. Now, as far as taking pictures of vintage jewelry, remember the macro, because you want to get the detail of the actual jewelry piece. The detail means you want to get the little intricacies, you want to get any flaws that it might have. Very important when you're selling these to include the description of the flaw. So if there's a missing stone, and sometimes there are, I mean, I'll buy pieces that have missing stones because I do modifications or revamps, which is something that I do when I find a really nice pin, for example, and it's got really nice details, got beautiful stones, but there's a lot of missing stones. So what I do is I take the stones out and I'll put them somewhere else to make a pair of earrings, for example. Or if I find a pair of earrings that are beautiful, but they're maybe, or something that I don't think people are really going to like, but I see one thing in there that I like maybe the center of the earring is beautiful, like a little flower or something, I'll take that flower and I will make something else out of it, you see. So you can also do that with your pieces, but just make sure that they're not valuable. So you check the price first and make sure that you're not going to break something that will be worth more selling it, even if it's broken. There's a lot of people out there who collect jewelry, broken or not. It's not all perfect pieces. They know the ages, they know how old it is, they know it's really hard to keep in, and also they repair. So a lot of people will buy, like me, for example, I'll buy pieces that I know are worth something and old, and I love the piece, but I know that I can fix it. Maybe it does have some missing stones. Maybe I have replacement stones. Maybe I'll just glue the stones back on. Or maybe it has a metal backing on the pin is missing, and I can put the pin back on. I know how to fix it. I have soldering experience, so I have the tools. I can glue and melt the metal myself to fix it. Whatever it is, just make sure that you appraise it yourself first. Get the prices first. You check on eBay, you check online, Google it, click the images tab on your search. Pull up all of the images and make sure that you don't see it on there. And if you do see it on there, get a good price for it. Now, if you do have a piece that you find and you can't find it anywhere and you have no other way or no other guide to appraise the value of this, you can go online, look up free appraisal, make sure that they don't charge you, send them a picture. But that might take a long time because a lot of people want to send their stuff in, and then it might take you a while before you hear back from them. So what I would do is I would just get as close as I can to what it looks like according to what I found online, and I'll get that price, and I'll just somehow price it maybe a little higher, and then just be very honest on the description and let people decide if they want to buy it. They're not marked, you might just be selling real stones. Just get them appraised, take them to a jeweler, have them look at it. If they say, well, this is just rhinestones, okay, fine. But it just depends on how you write your description. The pictures that you take have to be very clear. Take pictures of all angles. If you look at my website, you'll see I take pictures of every angle of the earring or the jewelry. I'll just turn it around. I'll do the front, the back, and then I'll go from the side so that you can see the thickness. And sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes I'll put like a dime next to it and take a picture of it so that you get an idea of how the size. Or you can use a small centimeter or a little ruler and just set it right next to the ruler and take a picture that way so that people know the exact size. But they'll get in touch with you and ask you anyway. So you have to really have a love for it. I love to look at the jewelry. All right, so in recap, what did we learn? We learned that screwbacks are older than clips and clips are older than hooks. And we learned that chunky jewelry, costume jewelry, the heavier the better. We learned that marks and signatures in the back of the earring don't necessarily mean that they're old. It just means that they are designer made. You have to really know the designer also, because a lot of these designers are still designing. So you don't want to buy something that's brand new that they just designed that you think just because of Sarah Coventry, when did they actually stop? In the 70s, the 80s, the 90s? You see what I mean? Get yourself a loop. The 10X is perfectly fine for what you want to do. And if a piece doesn't have a signature or a mark, it doesn't mean that it's new. It could be old. It just doesn't mean that it just means that it doesn't belong to a designer. That's all. So you just go look it up online. The best way to check is do it on eBay. Put your keywords in there. If it's a copper leaf with pearls, then you put copper leaf pearls. That's it. If it's a pin made out of silver tone metal, but it's not silver because it's not marked, then just put in silver tone pin. What is it shaped like? Is it like a heart? Okay, a heart shape, whatever. You'll come up with a bunch of images, and if you don't find it, the chances are that it's old is probably a good sign. If you put that in and you see a lot of them the same as yours, chances are that it's probably not a vintage piece. Talk to you guys tomorrow for Friday Food Day, and we'll have some nice recipes and very cool things to make for the weekend. Thank you for stopping in. A special shout out to France, who is constantly following me. Actually, France, you are the number one fan. You're just watching me all the time. You're the first one to pick up my shows, and I just want you to know that I'm paying attention to you. Cliche. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I'm sorry. But I love you. A special thank you to you. A special thank you to all of my listeners. And thank you for your support. Please don't forget that I have a new email right now. It is rosanna@email.com. You can send me your messages there. Also, you can contact me on Instagram at rosanamod. Just follow me. Thank you again. God bless you. Talk to you soon. And what do we say?